Okay. I don't know if this is gonna work. I think this is working. I do think this is working. I think this is working. This is working. Yeah, I think this is working. Okay, so I'm gonna have to share this. Yeah, I think this is working. Yeah, this is definitely working. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think this is good. Okay, I think this is good. This is good. Okay. I think I'm just gonna let this. Yeah, I'm just gonna let this another minute or something just for people to jump on, but I don't know what to expect from this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and see how it turns out. Okay. I think I can start as people jumping on. I think there's like, I had to change the link. So, okay. So just probably start in like 30 seconds or something. The category, I just gotta change something here. This is not. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just start, I guess. And as I have my chat here open, I don't know if someone's gonna have questions, but if you do, just know that my chat is open on the other screen. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just resize this really quickly on my end, and we can jump into it in just a second. I'm trying this out, but this is basically another video, right? It is a live stream, but it's not really much different. So different from what I do usually, right? Because I don't really edit my videos, so everything's um, basically unedited, and it's basically me talking to the webcam with my microphone, and I have my screen open. So this is basically what a live stream is. The only difference is now you get to see all of this live. Um, yeah, so, and shout out to Vadim, their first subscriber. Shout out, man. I really respect it. My first subscriber. An amazing that was an amazing subscription when I had zero subscriptions, and Vadim literally subscribed to me. So that the shout out to everybody that supports this channel, right? We're still small, we're still a small community, 1,600 something subscribers, but that's really relatively small, right? So okay, so I'll start. Um, to do what I wanted to do today for this video. I do want to wish you guys a happy Saturday. It's a great weekend. Very cold here in Toronto. I know in Montreal as well. In Canada, many places is very, very cold. And so hopefully you got better weather than we are having. But that said, I did want to talk about Teladoc in today's video and sort of shift that conversation towards maybe genomics as a whole sector and maybe CRISPR if you have a little bit of time. And the format of this video really is I wanted to basically go over Teladoc as to like researching with you guys high level, right? We're not gonna go like a specifics, but we are gonna look at numbers. We are gonna look at visuals, graphs, especially what the CEO has been saying of this company. We've covered this company in the past, Teladoc. It is a significant company in the ARK Invest Genomics Fund, so it is no joke. In fact, used to be the number two total holdings company for ARK Invest, just behind Tesla. It actually dropped to third spot, just behind Zoom now. So Tesla, Zoom, and then you have Teladoc. And the reason why this company has gotten so much scrutiny is, first of all, they're valued they used to be valued over 20-30 billion dollar market cap, and basically ARK Invest went, in my opinion, all in this company. They're still going all in. They're buying literally every week, and in spite of that, the company's stock price has gone significantly down from its all-time highs earlier this year. If you take a look here at the chart, clearly you can see 75% decline. That is a huge decline. Okay, this is no joke. 75%, guys. I know, a lot of you guys are like immune to this. You've been in markets for so long, some of you. But 75% scares the shit out of people. Okay, especially people that don't invest in companies. They usually go for ETFs and index funds. They're looking at that and they're freaking out, right? Especially for people that sort of bought into the story of some of these genomics companies earlier this year, in 2021 specifically. Unfortunately, they've seen their portfolio going red. But there's a lot of reasons for us to believe that this trend will change, right? I don't believe this is going to be something that there's something that we're stuck in. I actually don't even think that we're gonna be in this bear market for that long. Again, not it's just speculation, not financial advice. But it just doesn't make sense that we're in this bear market for the longest biotech bear market, genomics biotech bear market of all times. And it's just the nature of things, right? Everything that goes down must go up at some point, right? And especially when fundamentals have not changed. And you're gonna hear me saying that a lot of times. Fundamentals have not changed. But ultimately, I do think there was a huge run up because of the pandemic for a lot of these companies. And unfortunately, for a lot of investors who got into this space in 2021, they've been hit very hard. So obviously, this is where the stock price stands. It's currently valued at $1.6 billion market cap. Like I said, it's been down 75% from its all-time highs, over 75% from its all-time highs that they peaked less than 11 months ago. And there are many reasons to believe that this company will bounce back, but there are still a lot of bears saying that this company uh, will still be will still have its stock go a little bit down, or at least trade sideways until we fix these macros problem. So I want to shift here to ARK Invest before we even talk about like looking at slides and information about the company. Clearly here you can see it's currently number three. Again, if you had taken a look at this ranking list from ARK Invest, you would have seen that they were actually held the number two spot. But because the stock went from 120 to 100 to 80 to now 70 something, clearly here it's gotten the third position. And if we take a look a little bit more specifically at Teladoc's activity when it comes to ARK Invest trades across all their funds, clearly you can see these green dots here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the only red dot here, this was actually end of 2021. All companies got sold in ARK Invest a little bit. That was just basically their tax offsetting or whatever that day was all about. But omitting that point, that data point, basically you see a bunch of green points, meaning that they being ARK Invest, been buying from shares of this company over time. And you can see here, this is their gray, the purple line going up, which is the number of shares that ARK Invest owns of this company across their funds. And unfortunately, you can see here on the orange or yellow or whatever that color is, you can see the stock price has been going way down to basically what it is, trading at $72 a share. Clearly, this company has been hit very hard stock price. I did want to disclose that information before we even start talking about this company, because I think it's important for us to see how this company fares in the stock markets as we speak. And I know a lot of you guys are going to bring this up if I don't talk about it. But I do want to mention that, there's a quote from Warren Buffett, and I've said it many times, that be greedy when others are fearful, right? So just don't forget about this quote. There is some truth to that quote. But we'll go here in the presentation slide here, and just gonna take a look. Chat very quickly. Love from South Africa. Shout out, man. Love. We have many viewers from all over the world. It's amazing the support we have for this channel. It's amazing from British. We have many supporters from UK, many supporters from South Africa, from Singapore, from India, from Canada, US, Australia. Thank you so much for support, guys. Again, um, you guys know how appreciative I am. We literally started with zero subscribers, no support from anybody. Like we literally just started from scratch. And I started this channel because I saw that no one was covering some of these companies, and Teladoc is being one of them. So this presentation actually was like 2 weeks ago, and this is from the CEO of this company, Jason Gorvic, uh, and this was on the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. That we actually covered this conference from other companies like CRISPR Therapeutics actually went on this conference, virtual conference, Caribou Biosciences as well, and obviously other genomics companies, including Teladoc. So what is the mission statement, right, of this company? The mission statement is very clear, right? It is empowering all people everywhere to live their healthiest life by transforming their healthcare experience, right? So this is basically their mission statement, and I love to always take a brief moment to stop at that mission statement because, as you maybe have learned in business school, many of you have gone through business schools. Mission statement is literally one of the most important parts of your business case, right? It's basically you're setting your fundamentals, your foundation for your business, right? What is your business, right? What is it all about, right? In this case, it's about transforming the healthcare experience, right? And I think it's very important to pause for a second here and talk about the macro slash sector. Healthcare, I think healthcare is sort of positioned to be disrupted. There's three sectors I strongly believe, and I've repeated in the past, in this channel particularly, that I believe will be disrupted that has not been disrupted, right? There's healthcare, there's housing, and then there's education. And in all these three sectors, there are many companies trying to basically disrupt that sector. Particularly in healthcare, I think gone are the days where you have to physically move to, a physical point in order to get actual care, right? There's some notes I have here, and I saw that from some research. 92% of visits are actually resolved on the first visit, right? So 92% of your whatever healthcare visit you're trying to do, right? Whether you're going to your family doctor, whether you're going to a specific specialist, doesn't matter. 92% are actually resolved at your first visit, right? What does that statistic mean, right? That means that in 100 visits, right? If you have 100 human visits to a doctor, a medical doctor, a family doctor, let's take a family doctor as an example. 92% of those visits are actually going to be resolved at that first visit, right? And I know a lot of you guys are don't have backstory information about some of that, including me, right? I'm not actually involved in that day to days, but I've actually been fortunate enough to have some individuals in my family, particularly one person that actually worked very close to a family doctor. So they had their own that family doctor was my is actually my family doctor as well, and they had their own clinic, and basically she was able to work for them, and I actually got some information from that clinic, and more about the cost, right? And I've actually found out that in and this is okay, these numbers are so subjective, and this is in Canada, and we're going to talk shortly about the idea of being an international company, the challenges there. But being a healthcare company is very hard when you talk about globalization, right? And particularly in my example, um, in this case, this doctor there was basically getting, patients on like every 10 minutes, right? And those patients, you can basically have some general demographics. You can probably put some statistics there. And again, this is very anecdotal, but it's not really anecdotal because she actually worked there and she actually gave me some figures. And basically, if you were a regular patient, or basically if that was your family doctor, you'd be charged a certain amount. And not particularly the patient would pay because in healthcare is particularly free in Canada and in many other regions around the world, but the government would actually have to cover those costs. And there was actually a figure there, and let's just say it was like about $40, right? And if it's not your family doctor, then that person basically would cost the government about $60 to $80. And that's per visit, right? And again, I just mentioned the fact that 92% of those visits were actually resolve in the first visit, right? So basically, now you have a couple of problems, right? You have all these patients coming up, and there's a huge amount, the population, right, that are going to this particular location, to this particular doctor, and putting aside that particular doctor, that particular family doctor that I'm referencing, there is actually a challenge about the quality care, right? Because right now you're forced to go to your family doctor, right? And the government is eating those costs for people that are not going to those family doctors. And then you have this problem about being a family doctor or not, right? So that poses a huge problem because now you have not just so many problems here, because first you have that physical problem where you have to literally go move to a location, right? So that's a huge delay. That's a huge cost. The lineups are huge, right? And that particular doctor, he's actually, in this case, that family doctor is actually bounded by the laws of physics, right? That person cannot meet more than one patient every 15 to 20 minutes, because they're basically on in a room. You get that physician, that patient, or let's call it customer in this case. The customer comes in their office, talks, you basically have that energy, and basically as the patient leaves, you have to do your aftermath documents. That's a lot of document writing. There's a lot of document writing. This is why I'm telling you, this particular system is very, very legacy. Healthcare is meant to be disrupted. It's literally up on our face. The reason why it's not been disrupted, and this is what I think Teladoc comes into play, is because quality control, technology was not there yet. I mean, in the 90s and in the 20s, 2000s, early 2000s, I remember there was like a lot of hype about, online chats, about having, when webcams came about, when Skype came about, when MSN was all about live messaging. People were sort of speculating this is what the revolution is all about in healthcare. it just wasn't there yet, right? It just wasn't there yet. Individuals weren't really positioned with the technology. If you don't have the technology, then forget it, right? Especially when it comes to healthcare, right? And healthcare is such a subject, it's touchy subject because it's your health, right? It's one thing to be addressing, like, for example, streaming, right? Video streaming, like Netflix did with what they did to Blockbuster. It's one thing about that because that's entertainment, that's another side of the business. But when it comes to healthcare, you can't be accepting something less than the average, right? You need huge quality, right? You need a huge step up in order for you to be able to accept that revolutionary change, right? And this is where Teladoc comes into play, right? And another anecdotal experience really quickly before we jump into today's slides here is I just came back, like I said, from Pakistan. I came back from my vacation, and fortunately, because of the pandemic, we have to go through some checkups, specifically with what, testing. What I found crazy, and this is specific to the airport in Canada I was in Toronto, but the point is that as I landed, I got this home testing kit. And as I got home, first of all, I had to quarantine until I basically had a negative test. And for me to have that negative test, basically I need to open this kit on a live call with a doctor, right? This is an actual doctor that I'm webcamming with my phone, right? The quality was amazing. The microphone was amazing. Like, quality was just amazing, right? I just pull up my iOS, my iPhone. I had a live conversation with a doctor, and she was basically telling me what to do with this kit, literally opening it up on the spot with her, and she had to see everything, including me, having the nose swab and doing the test and making sure I put it in a secure bag using all the tools there. Everything was prepared, and that basically was 15, 20 minutes, whatever that took. And then afterwards, I had to basically, um, put that sample in a fridge and then basically schedule a pickup where someone from Purelator, UPS, whatever you want to call them, they came up and then pick up the proof and then basically delivered it to the laboratory. And on the app, on my phone, I got all my results. Now, obviously, this is just with the pandemic. This is a unique scenario where obviously I don't have to explain to you guys how important the pandemic was to the world and is to the world, especially in a region like Canada where we've seen lockdowns and so on. But the point I'm making here is we've reached to a point with technology that we can do and have these interactions, right, with doctors. And I was just blown away, right? After that conversation with that doctor, I was thinking about this. I'm like, damn, like, I knew about Teladoc. I've obviously invested in Teladoc in the past as well. But after that interaction, my bullish statement on Teladoc has gone so up, right? It's gone so up. Like, it's unbelievable where I stand with this company at this point. Regardless what happened with the stock price. And I guess this is what I'm gonna be talking about right in today's video. So let's talk about Teladoc being a global leader in virtual health, right? So market leading performance, right? 76 million members, 10,000 providers, 12,000 clients, estimated 2021 visits. This is estimated. We haven't gotten the latest quarterly earnings to summarize the whole 2021 performance, which we should be getting in the next weeks. But there are 18 plus million. Actually, I got even additional statistics that about 30 to 40,000 visits on the app on Teladoc, somehow on the website or on the app regarding care a day. So 30 to 40,000 visits a day when it comes to virtual care and all of their services. And the reason why this interval is so big is because it depends on the season, right? The flu season obviously has more virtual care for obvious reasons. It's the number app in download when it comes to virtual care, when it comes to telehealth, and we're looking at here powered by, and this is going to be very important, right? 800,000 connected devices, 2 billion data points, uh, 500 annual health interaction, and 5,000 employees. This is their number of employees in this company. They've reached the 5,000 mark. So this is obviously an international company. Like I mentioned, they're over 100 countries. They have many patients around the world. And actually, I just found out that my employer, my day job, my employer, whichever company they're with when it comes to health insurance, they're actually partnered with Teladoc, which is quite amazing, right? So, and I know my partner as well. She also has some sort of affiliation with Teladoc from their employment. So that's pretty amazing, right? So take a look at their some numbers here briefly. Total revenue, obviously, this company has reached high revenue. I do want to mention this jump here from 2020, 2021. Obviously, it's not just a company naturally, it is natural, but it's also due to their purchase acquisition, specifically with Levingo. They've acquired Lavingo is basically a company that basically have four devices that particularly addresses issues like tracking and monitoring certain problems such as diabetes, weight measurement. They have two others there, hypertension. I forgot the fourth one, but basically they're all about getting that data, exposing that data, and we talked about data points, how important it is for Teladoc, and obviously they acquired that company for over $18 billion. And clearly you can see this is just the early innings. The earnings have gone up in terms of revenue, more revenue, so that is great. You can also see their paid total US memberships. This is specifically with US gone up. You see the blue line going up, and adjusted EBITDA. Clearly, you can see it's been going up. And I do want to talk about net losses in shortly, being more relevant with stock-based compensation. So if you don't account in stock-based compensation, it looks really bad in terms of net loss. But when you do, you clearly see that their losses have gone shrinking as the company has been more profitable over time, right? That is the goal of any company, really. You see here total visits in million, clearly been going up. Again, 2021 is just estimation. So, what is going on with the pandemic, right? The pandemic changed the landscape, right? Clearly, you saw a lot of employers, saw that this was the future, working on Zoom, working on Teams, Microsoft Teams, using Slack, using Microsoft Teams again for chatting. But that didn't change with healthcare, right? And unfortunately, healthcare in many sectors around the world, it's still the same thing. Like again, I just did my COVID testing, and I had to basically move to a location to test myself when I was testing prior to my flight to Pakistan. And even when I was in Pakistan, obviously this is a less developed nation compared to a nation like Canada. You also had a physical person testing. But when I came back from my test and from the airport, I had that whole home kit of high technology testing. And this is what I see the whole world shifting to when I think about healthcare, right? The pandemic changed the whole thing again because it sort of drove virtual care in a way that's never been done before. You can now have conversations with your doctors in different platforms. And obviously, this space is getting crowded. There is a lot of competition. I'm going to talk about that shortly. But there is a fact, and the CEO mentioned in an interview, he said that they are 10x larger than the next closest competition, right? So the next competitor, like the competition that they are facing with Teladoc in their vertical, they're 10x larger. So take that what you want to take it with. So that's what it is for that. Obviously, there are a lot of things going on when it comes to virtual care. It's not about, hey, I have a flu, can you just see what's going on? It's not just, hey, I have this pain on my right shoulder, what's going on? Um, but it's also about mental health, right? And we've all seen what's going on with mental health. It's been a hot topic. Organizations like the NBA, basketball, have players coming out talking about mental health. It's a serious issue. It is a significant issue in our communities, not just in developed nations, but people are actually realizing what mental health is all about. And to address mental health, again, you cannot afford to have individuals moving to a point. It's going to cause money in terms of transportation, in terms of waiting. There's the resources in waiting, in delays. There's a whole cost for the governments as well. You need technology to drive you to reduce those costs, right? You need technology to make it easy for you to address those problems. Because trust me, and this, I know a lot of you are on the same boat on this. uh, if you have to move physically to a location and you contrast that to an app where you just open up and have a conversation with someone, that latter option is always going to be favorable, right? Because we live in a society where our smartphones are everywhere. We're always connected. Just what we're doing here, I'm giving you guys information for free. I'm not in a classroom. I'm not basically in a conference physically. I'm giving this virtually, and you can connect to your will. You can disconnect if you want. The same idea comes to virtual health. If you want to connect to a doctor, go ahead. Look, if you still want to go, you see your doctor for whatever reason, it's still open. Like it's not like this space is gonna just switch on and off like Blockbuster and streaming, right? This is, like I said, the healthcare, legacy healthcare is going to take a long time to disrupt, and we're way early earnings, right? We're not even the first earnings in my meanings, in my opinion. Um, so clearly here you can see um, that virtual care is not the only thing that Teladoc is trying to tackle. Obviously, chronic care, virtual care is not the only thing. It's about mental health. It's about being the one stop for everything, right? And we'll take a look shortly in their slide. But briefly here, you can see, from 2021 and beyond, you can see they've expanded this company. When they IPO they were one thing, and then what today they're doing, they're another thing, right? And more specifically, now they hold data, right, from their Livingo applications, and all their data they're able to garner, like I said, from those $2+ billion data points they're able to garner. So it's quite amazing what they're able to do. Obviously, being an international company is a challenge. Healthcare has to be specific to a region. You cannot apply healthcare from one region to another. It just doesn't work like that. You cannot just take US approach and then implement in Canada. You really cannot, because of different regulations, because of different jurisdictions, because of different needs of the populations. And the elephant in the room is that healthcare is free um, in Canada while it's not in US. So already there you see there's two different markets there that have to be addressed, and that obviously actually is a great thing for the bullish statement for Teladoc, because when you think about it, a lot of people say, well, any company can just spin off app and just start penetrating the market. It doesn't work like that, right? You need quality care control. And actually in Teladoc itself, they have actually in their board of members, they have a specific group for just quality control, right? They have people overseeing just quality. That's their job. Like they don't even care about numbers at that point, like revenues and so on. All they care about is are the patients getting the best treatment possible, right? So quality care is very important. Like I mentioned, in order to be able to disrupt and penetrate in healthcare, you cannot just be average. You have to be best of the best. You have to move people. If you want to move the needle, and if you want to move people from a new generational shift when it comes to healthcare, you can't be just addressing it through technology that's sub average or even average. You need the best doctors to be on the platform. You need the best attention to the patients. You basically need to leave off patients saying, you know what, I shouldn't have done the pandemic COVID testing physically. I should have just done it the way I did it, like my anecdotal experience. And that's basically the approach I had. So Teladoc is driving the next phase in virtual care. Like I mentioned, in the past, there was something else, and today there's something else, and then in the future they want to be integrated ecosystem when it comes to data points, when it comes to data, leveraging that care. It's not just about chronic care and virtual care and saying, hey, I have this pain, hey, I'm having this headache. It's also about, hey, look, I'm not feeling well today at work, and I'm feeling stressed out, what's going on. And what's crazy about this is that Teladoc professionals on the platform can actually prescribe you uh, um, medicine, right? If required. So, like I said, this is a new revolution. This is changing the game, right? This is unbelievable. We've seen what Tesla did with energy side of things, with vehicles. We've seen what Amazon did with commerce, moving it to e-commerce. We've seen what Google did with libraries, everything, putting it on the search engine. We've also seen what Microsoft did when it comes to operating system. We've seen what Apple did when it came to merging all these technologies into one single device that you're mostly watching this video with. So clearly, Teladoc has a place and time here for them to shine. when it comes to healthcare, but there is a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of education to be had. Again, we'll need many communities, many regions around the world to sort of participate. So there's that, right? And our North Star here, clearly here you can see the first place consumers for all healthcare needs. So again, it's not just about, I have this pain on the left shoulders. It's about losing weight, right? It's about having stress about relationship, right? It's about having the better access to primary care. It's about referral to cardiologist, right? Dermatologist, right? You have that reference, you have that prescription. You can easily connect to your doctor online. This is literally, literally three swipes away, maybe less. If you think about it, you open your phone, don't count your phone, you click on the app, you log in, you face ID, whatever. You haven't even you done one click or one push so far on your app, right? You basically press a button, it connects you to a doctor. So maybe there's another button just to confirm some details, but that's basically three buttons or less. That is amazing, right? That is the next revolution for telehealth. That is the next revolution for healthcare, whole person care that is personalized, convenience, and connected. I truly believe in that. I've always said that healthcare, legacy healthcare, is yet to be disrupted, and I think Teladoc will be the one leading that space. We'll take a look shortly. It's the competition, how it matters, but it's creating a new total addressable markets, a new category. Again, I just mentioned to you guys about how physical locations are limiting for doctors. They can only address certain patients. It's a very high cost for the governments behind those programs, and then for doctors themselves and for patients. For doctors, they're limiting their reach, and then for patients, they're limiting their care, right? What if the patient wants a better doctor? What if the patient wants someone that speaks a different language? What if the patient wants someone that is just not their current physical, medical family doctor in this case, right? This can be changed. And for the first time ever, we have a tool, in this case, Teladoc and other application, other companies as well addressing this particular problem, right? Total addressable market is so big that I think there'll be many winners, maybe not particularly that many winners like we talked about in CRISPR and genome, other fields in genomics, but clearly here you can see Teladoc is the leader. The same way Tesla is the leader in EVs, and the same way that Tesla has competition either from Neo, from XPeng, from Rivian, from even legacy companies, autos like VW, Mercedes, Audi. Uh, GM, even though they only delivered 26 electrical vehicles in 2021, but that's another topic maybe for another day. But clearly here you can see there is competition, and the great thing here, and they sort of address this in this slide here, we'll take a look shortly here, briefly here. So Teladoc is sort of doing these three big things, right? Clinical expertise, like I talked about, quality control, getting the best doctors around regions around the world. Tech and data, it's very hard to have tech and data. It's very hard to scale. It's very hard to have an application that's able to just connect to you right away to a patient or vice versa to a doctor. It's very hard to distribute and have a moat and have a popularity. You can say that Zoom can enter into space, but Zoom does not have clinical experience, and they don't have necessarily the distribution and engagement that Teladoc has. um, and then you can talk about big tech, right? But the big tech, again, Amazon and Google, um, Apple, they've all expressed their needs to go into healthcare, specifically Amazon and Apple. But again, do they have the best doctors? Can they have the best doctors? That's the biggest challenge, right? Yes, they have the data. I will not argue with that. They have the tech, they have the data. In fact, Amazon can literally spin off their AWS, just like Microsoft can spin off their Azure platform, the cloud platform, to get the best technology, best data, be able to parse it with the relationships they have around the world. But do they have the best doctors on the platform? Can they build those partnerships with employers? Can they build those partnerships with employees, with patients around the world, with healthcare providers? That I don't think they can, right? And then you have all these competitors that are lacking one or many, right, of these sectors that Teladoc, in this case, are saying that they are the leader, or at least are leading most, and if not all, these sectors, right? So And then they talk about penetration, right? So it's not just about getting one patient to talk about their mental health. It's even bigger than that. If they have any chronic care, for example, if they have any prescription, look, if they want to lose weight in the next 6 months because they have a wedding to come up with, then Teladoc can be that platform that connects to them to the appropriate fitness professionals, healthcare professionals, or therapists, mental therapists, psychologists. There's a lot to do here. There's a lot to penetrate. And ultimately, if we want to have the best care, we need to have all of our problems addressed, right? All of us have problems, right? It's not true that none of us are, all of us, some of us are perfect and we don't need care. All of us need care. All of us need all of this addressed. And I think having that platform to do that, I think it's amazing. So clearly, you can see here the penetration is what they're focusing on, membership growth, but obviously product penetration. It's something similar to like what Amazon is doing, right? With Prime. Prime membership is one thing, but you get them to spend more, you get them to have other spending in other their sectors, right? And you have to make those comparisons because Teladoc is a technology company, it is a software company, and they're leveraging that big tech technology that big tech has, but also with their expertise that they have, their partnership, their existing partnership, and future partnership that we'll take a look shortly here. So clearly here you can see it's all about having more members. It's all about having a higher penetration per member. So basically having them spend more. And then you have the growth outlook. This company, I think, is going to shock the world in the next years, I think, with their revenues. Um, I think it's all about, being a virtual care industry leader to begin with, but then it becomes about a combination of digital and physician-led services. There will always be physical hardware for you to monitor it. It won't just be your Apple Watch that does everything or like your phone that does everything. I think there'll always be devices that are monitoring specific diseases or problems. And there's a reason why there's so many companies getting FDA approved devices every single month to address those problems. But again, you don't want every single device to be proprietary and have their own website and then have everyone divided, right? You want a single pane of glass, right? And Teladoc is not trying to replace all of that. It's just leveraging everything, right? It's being that open platform that every other company can sort of leverage. Like you guys have the population, you guys have the popularity, we have the technology, we have the hardware for your population. Leverage us, pay us a fee. You guys can keep the rest, something along those lines, right? And actually, another statistic there is that in 2019, again, this is a little bit outdated due to inflation and so on. Um, but in 2019, Teladoc was meant to have $40 a visit, right? And physicians were paid $25, right? So if you do a quick calculation here, very quick, right? Very quick, and you do 15 divided 40, that means that just as a quick calculation, obviously it's more complicated than that, but Teladoc basically took 37.5% of that cost, that revenue, right? So from every single visit. Obviously, this is a way simplified version. It's much more complicated than that. So that was basically it. I did want to mention briefly here about, I don't know if I can find it about their numbers there, but and this was again, that was the presentation they presented. The healthcare conference was tailored for that healthcare conference. This one is more investors presentation, their latest quarterly earnings of 2021 in November. Clearly, this will be updated as we get in the upcoming weeks. But I think there's a section here for their figures. I don't know if I can find it. Um, Probably not, but I think there is. Okay, here. Um, So I think maybe if we go down a little bit, and I highly advise you guys to go over uh, this this PowerPoint because it's really the best PowerPoint for you to look at. And they actually went over this PowerPoint through like a presentation with the CEO and the leadership, which was amazing. A physical presentation that I watched, um, but they do have $826 million cash in the bank. I find it a little bit lower than what I expected for a company generating this much revenue. Because For example, there are some CRISPR companies that actually have a lot more cash than that. But again, they did make some purchases. But it's still good, they have, that much cash in the bank. So if they have to make a quick acquisition in the upcoming years or months, more specifically, they have the cash for it. Very important to have cash in the bank, especially in these markets where things are looking really, really down. The stock has declined for many, many of these companies. So you want to have cash in the bank. We've already covered some of these numbers here, but I wish I could have seen. There was one slide, I can't find it right now, but there's one slide talking about their net losses. If you compare their 2019 and 2020 losses, it's been going way up, the losses, but most specifically, it was more due to stock-based compensation. This is what you have to expect for these companies, right? These companies are working on better technology. They're hiring the best talent. And for you to do that, you need to basically offer your stock, right, to these employees, to the best of the best, right? You can't just be having continuous stagnation in stock-based compensation as your stock goes two, three, four, five folds, over the next months or years. You need to basically reward them, and that's the whole point of why their not net losses were off, right? And that's why you may be taking off. But just if you spend a little bit more time into that, you'll see it's just basically an accounting principle there being, it is what it is. That's how every company has to face. But I'm not saying that this company it should be exempt from that. I'm just saying that you just have to understand that those net losses have actually been shrinking if you take off that stock-based compensation. So basically what we're seeing here is a company that's growing revenues, they're shrinking the losses over time, they're garnering more memberships over time, they're building those partnerships. And in fact, if we see this leak, and this leak I covered in like a few weeks ago, I covered in a video format, and it got a lot of popularity. But basically, there was this Reddit post on Wall Street Bets. This guy was able to get information that Teladoc was actually building partnerships with Google, Apple, and Microsoft. We already know they built a partnership with Microsoft from one of their presentation slide, but it's quite interesting that they have now these big tech companies as partners, right? And what that means is basically employees from those companies can now get virtual care, basically, right? They can get mental health care, right? If they, it's so big, imagine the money that they can get, right? I think half of the Fortune 100 companies are partnered up with Teladoc somehow. All these employers, we know they want to offer their employees. We just talked about how you have to reward your employees with the best care. And I think, telehealth has a future, right? So that was basically what I had prepared for today's video when it came to Teladoc. Again, I wanted to go over the stock price. I wanted to go over some of these leaks here that we talked about, but more specifically, I wanted to talk about what is their strategy, why it's so important, some anecdotal experience, their potential growth for Teladoc, and why this company here is set to be the leader in genomics. There's a reason why they're the number one company in the genomics from ARK Invest, and they used to be number two in the total combine of ARK Invest. Unfortunately, due to the stock price declining, they're back to number three behind Zoom and Tesla. So there's a reason why they're the leader. There's a reason why Brett, the director of ARK Invest, has mentioned Teladoc many times in interviews, specifically the one with Dave Lee, if you guys watch it on YouTube. So very interesting company. Again, I'm curious to see what you guys think about this company in the comments below after this live stream. Clearly, they see they have marquee clients. They're growing. Stanley back. This is a big security company, actually. Toyota, obviously, I don't have to explain to you guys. Nissan, they have a huge partnership. This is a real company with actual big partnership like Microsoft, Blue Cross. They have great partnerships, but it's all about expanding. It's all about expansion. It's all about how they can penetrate different markets, specifically in regions like Canada, UK, Australia. US is one thing, but can you penetrate in those markets where you need personalized care, where you need all the best of the best, and you need to move people from a legacy healthcare to a newer healthcare where you don't just provide average results, you provide the best of the best. It has to be the best of the best. There is no way around it, in my opinion. You can't just be sitting there and say, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to go use this app. Maybe I should just go to my, locus clinic, closest clinic, and get my care at. I think this has to be the best of the best, and there's a reason why they have a quality control in their board member sectors. Some of their board members, they actually do just that, according to their CEO. So there's that. See in the chat here. I don't know if I love from Singapore. Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm planning to visit Singapore at some point in the future. I've heard great things. One of my work colleagues, worked there for 3 months or 4 months, I think, and he's going there back there shortly after the pandemic slows down a little bit. But he's had great feedback from Singapore. Amazing people, amazing community, and I think it's a great place for young professionals, right? And I'm obviously a young professional, so looking forward for Singapore. Maybe one day. Let me know if there's a couple places, maybe a specific time that it should be visited around the year. And you guys know I'm big on travel, so actually tomorrow's video I was planning to do like a travel video about my trip to Pakistan, like show some pictures and some videos. Will you be covering ARK Invest Big Ideas 2022? Absolutely. It is set to be released in the upcoming days. I think on Tuesday, I think, or Monday or Tuesday. I want to go over all of their big ideas. I am expecting them to talk a lot about genomics. I think people will be shocked by the numbers they provide. I do expect them to keep talking about the rights law, but more specifically, I expect them to talk about genome editing, CRISPR companies, sequence mapping, sequencing. I'm expecting them to talk about Teladoc, telehealth. We'll take a look at that report together. Support from Taiwan. Thank you very much. Shout out to all individuals in Taiwan. I think Taiwan is a beautiful, beautiful country as well. Unfortunate what's going on with their relationship with China, but this is not political channel. I will not cover that. But yeah, keep hanging there, guys. You guys have the best semiconductors for a reason, so keep working hard. Good job. Thanks. Thank you very much, Donatas. Savannah said, "What will happen with to Teladoc after the pandemic since I'm not in North America and never used Teladoc before?" So first of all, Teladoc is not just in North America. They're in Europe, they're in Australia, they're in Asia Pacific. They are all around the world, over 100 countries. What will happen after the pandemic? Well, I mean, I've sort of covered this throughout this video, but really, you talk about the shift from physical to virtual, right? And most sectors, since the pandemic started, have been shifted, right? We're working from home. You have all these new technologies. Microsoft Teams have gotten so better. Zoom has gotten better for people. More companies have enrolled in these memberships with Zoom or Microsoft Teams to give their best technology to their employees. And I don't think it's different with healthcare, right? And I think many doctors, many physicians, many healthcare professionals will see this and see an opportunity to maximize their revenues, maximize their profits, and most importantly, like just talk about, maximize their reach, right? And patients around the world will want to get the best patient care, right? Again, it's a very tricky topic. I think the question is really very dependent on how different regions react to it. Do you want, as a Canadian, do you want to get your care from a US American doctor? Um, Considering it's free in Canada, like how does those dynamics play? I think this is where quality control, this is what people's will are gonna, you have to let the markets play. I think ultimately the markets will play a role, and I think this is what we'll see. I don't think we'll be ever going back to a world where virtual is no longer the priority or it takes a backseat. I really don't think so. I think virtual was changing before the pandemic. The pandemic just accelerated things forward. And what we've seen with Teladoc, what we've seen with CRISPR companies, what we've seen with genomics companies, I think we'll see that a lot more funds from governments. Actually, in US, there's that Cures 2.0 Bill Act that we've covered, and that bill actually will actually give a lot more funds to these types of companies like Teladoc, to actually fund their technologies and have more funds and have more leniency. Um, so missed a lot of chat waiting on the bad link. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. Actually, I know what happened, but I should have just tested before. But it is what it is. Thanks for the content today. Checking financials out. Yeah, we just covered financials really briefly. Michael, thank you so much for the support again. We've covered financials really briefly with Teladoc. I think it's important for everybody to take a look at their financials, their stock price and understand what you're getting into for sure, 100%. Um, but I think financials should be taken this you like you shouldn't be in my opinion, you should always be looking at this space in the long term, right? And this is what I always preach: long term. If you're always focused on like what they're doing today, you're most likely missing out on their potential in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Even these growth outlooks, I wouldn't even take those numbers. Like I honestly don't even take. I mean, I understand these numbers because they have to give guidance. They have a duty to their shareholders, to their existing employees as well. um, they want to put their revenues outlook. They want to give an outlook. I think it's important to do that. But you as an investor, you have to look at the space and say, look, Teladoc is may be experiencing what a lot of these companies in genomics field will experience in the upcoming years: more funds from government, more priorities from governments. Then ultimately you see a shift from legacy healthcare to this new healthcare system where patient care becomes personalized, patient care becomes digitalized, patient care becomes a lot more than just chronic pain, or virtual care becomes something along the line of mental health, something along the line of depression, something along the line with weight loss. It becomes an interactive process. We went over we went over something that I think a lot of people forget that, there was a time where you had to like research on your own with like books and so on, and you had to like depend on professionals like doctors, and you still have to do that actually. But now we've shifted in the late 2000, early 2010s on internet, where now you have YouTube, you had Twitter, even you have Facebook, you have Instagram. Now obviously I'm not saying those people, a lot of those posts, a lot of people are professionals, not at all. But let's be honest, a lot of you guys Google back pain, a lot of you guys YouTube you're having a teeth problem, a back spine issue, and you get that information there. But ultimately, you still had to go physically to a patient, a doctor, to treat you as a patient, to get you that prescription, and so on. And then we shifted, I think, in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years to a time where now we have everything being done on a mobile phone, specifically on your iPhone, for example. You pull up your app and then you get in a communication with professionals. And healthcare is no different, right? The only reason why it takes this much time is because healthcare, like I said, it's a tricky subject. It is a touchy subject. The same way as Bitcoin is to like the financial world, in my opinion. This is to that legacy healthcare because it is disrupting things. Physical clinics are in jeopardy because you don't have to pay that much real estate. You don't have to pay all that that staff, right, to maintain those places, right? You can just have your doctor sitting in their office the same way I am right now in my home office. Pull up their webcam and talk to hundreds and hundreds of patients every single day. So I truly believe that, right? So I'm just gonna take a quick check here. Um, um, I'm just gonna check a little bit here just to do a quick checkup before I get back to the chat. I know that still some other comments there. Let me just post this. Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. The previous link, unfortunately, it won't happen next time. Um, um, I'll definitely fix it next time. It'll be a lot better next time. It'll be more smooth. I know some people were waiting on the other chat and just never came about. So sorry about that, but it won't happen next time. So thank you so much for your patience. Again, if you have a quick time, guys, do like this video, subscribe if you're not, share this video, guys. I think it really does help the channel. Okay, so Michael said over 80% institutional ownership. That's a great point. With diagnostic getting cheaper, more ubiquitous, Teladoc could be very useful in delivering results. Actually, um, there was one video I was watching just earlier, just in preparation for this video, this live stream. Someone made a bold bet that Teladoc could be acquiring Pacific Biosciences or even CRISPR companies like Beam Therapeutics. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think a CRISPR company will just be acquired from a company like Teladoc. I don't necessarily think that's what's gonna happen. I do think there'll be consolidation in the space of CRISPR and genome editing, but I don't really see a company like Teladoc doing those types of purchases because I think those are like different verticals, in my opinion, although there are all in the same basket of genomics. Genomics is such a big TAM. You need different talent pool to address genome editing, for example. But it's an interesting bet. What if, Teladoc purchases BNGO? What if they purchases Invitae, right? Because, you need data. And, what if they purchase Pacific Biosciences? I think it's an interesting bet. It's a fun play to play with. I don't necessarily think it's gonna happen again. I think that's a huge bet. But we just saw Microsoft purchase Activision, right? And you can make hundreds of explanations as to, Xbox gaming and all the gaming sector for Microsoft. But who would have seen Activision been bought by a company like Microsoft? Like I would never imagine in the wildest dreams in maybe 100 years, I would never imagine that Activision would sell themselves to a big tech company, specifically to Microsoft. They have the IP content, they have the history. They're basically practically at this point a founder-led company, and no one would have seen this, right? So I'm still shocked about the acquisition. And Teladoc obviously acquired Livinggo recently, like I said, less than 2 years ago, and they've acquired other companies as well. And there is consolidation to happen, especially in the telehealth space. All these companies spun off in the recent pandemic. You saw what happened with private local companies around region. Like I said, this is a region problem, right? Healthcare is a region problem. They will have to acquire companies, right? This cannot be natural growth. It's not like Amazon.com where then around the world you just like get people on your website because of regulations, because of how quality control is when it comes to healthcare. E-commerce and is a universal thing, right? You need a good, as long as your good is legal in your region, as long as your good is not harmful, as long as your good is set at a good price, as long as it can be shipped, you're good, right? That's what Amazon did with e-commerce, but you can't do that with healthcare, right? Healthcare, you need the best quality, right? And then we just talked about it. Like me as a Canadian, I'm looking for a doctor that can give me a patient care that is practically free, right? Because that's how it is in Canada, right? And although I know there are many American doctors that I could get the best quality from, ultimately it's not gonna be free. It's gonna be a huge cost for me, right? And that is subjective because maybe for Americans that is a perfect price for them to pay. But I'm already paying that through my taxes, through my paychecks and so on. I'm paying to the government for healthcare, right? This is what my agreement is between me and my government, right? In Canada, and the same concept applies to UK. Same concept applies for other regions around the world, especially in Europe. So I think this is going to be a huge problem, right? I think this is, to me, in my opinion, the biggest hurdle for Teladoc will be their expansion around the world. I don't think they won't be able to do it. I do think they will be able to do it. I think they will have the challenge, the moat, and the popularity to penetrate in these markets. But they will have to acquire. So when you talk about acquisitions, you talk about these net losses, you talk about these big stock compensation, you talk about short term being hit hard, but I think long term they have the tech and data, they have the expertise, they have the quality control that they often boast about, and then they have the distribution, right? That's how you do it. That's how they're in for. So shout out Barcelona, Spain. Um, I'm actually planning to go to Portugal later this year. Spain was one of our top destinations. This is just for vacation, really. But shout out to all in Spanish. I think I went to Brazil. Obviously, it's not Spain, but I went to Brazil like for work, like almost basically 3 years ago. Amazing place. The culture was amazing. Obviously, derived from Portuguese. Amazing people. It's just love that vibe, right? And I think it's really important. Just going back to that travel, it's really important to travel sometimes just to get expand your culture, expand your experience, and understand a little bit more what's going on around the world. I think a lot of people they get really tied up with their daily lives. We're all busy. We all have our paychecks. We all have our costs, our pay. We have to pay bills. Our family, our friends, our social circles, our stresses, um, but I think it's important to travel sometimes and just, have a better view of what's going on in the world. My trip to Pakistan recently, I learned so much. It humbled me so much. I think, and I'm speaking as if I travel literally every month, and not at all. It's just it was one of my priorities during the pandemic that once we're out of this pandemic, that I can travel a lot more, whether it's for work, whether it's for personalized reasons, or whether it's just for being going on vacation, right? So definitely is something I'm planning to do. So shout out, thank you very much, Dan from Spain. Um, okay, so with the small company gets bought, when is the top for it? On the news, just a merger. Just hold on. I'm in Teladoc, 19% down. Yeah, I think Teladoc, a lot of people got hit so hard. The decline been so hard, Frank. The decline has been so hard. I mean, we just took a look at the stock price earlier at the beginning of this video, and clearly you can see it's been down 75%. There are many people, guys, that bought around this space. I know some of you think that not many people bought it. I remember, look at the volume, guys. The volume was a lot bigger. Okay, it was big. Okay, it's just as big as it is today. 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. A lot of people were buying, a lot of people were selling. Um, a lot of people are holding the bag of this company. Fortunately for me, I actually bought it later in 2021, and I actually just recently bought it this week. I actually announced it recently as well. I'm a huge fan, like I said, of Teladoc. Full disclosure, I am an investor in Teladoc. Um, but 19%, I think it's not that bad considering it's been down 75%. But again, if you believe in a long term idea, why wouldn't we believe in this company long term? When we just talked about everything, we just talked about legacy healthcare moving to a new healthcare. We talk about competition. We talk about what Teladoc is doing in healthcare, being more than just chronic and virtual care. We talked about their leadership. We talked about some of the figures, and we talked about their current mold, right? Their current popularity and what it takes to really become a telehealth company that's globalized. Um, so I think it'll be monitoring will be used for old folks on home care. Yeah, actually, that's a great point, right? Old folks. So I think people forget, old folks, obviously current old folks. A lot of people are actually really, really good with technology. Like you guys would be very surprised. I think we 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 discredit a lot of people. I think people often, they often forget that there's a lot of older people like 60, 70 years old that use smartphones. Actually, we have some viewers in our channel that are like 65, 70, 75. Good viewers, like people that actually understand technology. So all these folks, like in nursing homes and so on, I think they're gonna want something different, right? They don't want someone just to guide them and lose their you know their sovereign ownership of themselves. Like they want to have full ownership of themselves, and I don't think that people will just tell them, hey, I don't think people will just older folks will just allow other people just take decisions for themselves. I think they're gonna use their smartphone and get in contact with like this doctor in the same region as themselves. Or you know what? That they work so hard in their lives, they want to get the best care possible. So they're gonna go on Teladoc, for example, and communicate with the best doctors. I think a lot of people forget about that. And then, the elephant in the room is that eventually we will get old as well, right? All of us, including you guys watching this channel, at some point you're gonna get old. And are you really gonna be in a nursing home, or are you gonna like accept the fact that you have to like go in a lineup while we're like using education, on technology. We're having this Neuralink technology. We're moving to this like electrical vehicles on the road, beautiful gadgets. Apple's doing what they're calling Apple Watches. You're going to have AR glasses, and then when it comes to healthcare, you're going to physically move yourself to like a doctor office where you're going to waste like 2 hours of your life, and then pay a hefty fee, and then get less average care, for what you could have gone in if you went to a Teladoc's app, for example, right? So I think that that's a very good point, Frank. That's a really good point. I think a lot of people, a lot of people really do not appreciate that fact. Who is selling? Yeah, there's a lot of people selling this stock. There's a lot of people. I mean, if this company is down 75%, it's because people are selling, right? It's that straightforward. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's quite a shame that you have these companies worth like 150 billion, and Snapchat was worth like 120 billions until like a few months ago. Snapchat, really, like Snapchat worth 120 billions, and like all CRISPR companies involved combined are not even worth that much. Um, yeah, I think that's unfair to these genomics companies. I think you could see those in two ways, right? I think you could make the argument that maybe Snapchat was overvalued and markets are just drunk, or you see that there is money flowing in these markets and people saw something in Snapchat that they're not seeing in genomics yet, and there is an opportunity. And you as an investor, you look into space and you're like, well, I see this opportunity. I can't predict the future, but I can see where the future is trending, right? In 2012, 13, 14, no one saw Tesla being what they are today. Like, if someone tells you that, they're straight up lying, right? No one knew that they would be this big, or this stock price would have that stock price would have gone what it is today. But they saw the trending, right? They saw that, with technology, with batteries costs going lower, that they could invest in a revolutionary company. And the same concept is with Teladoc, right? I don't think anybody really can predict what will happen in 2025. You can make like 100 prediction, you could still be 100 times wrong, right? Or you could make that single prediction and you could actually be close, right? And it's not about being 100% right. It's actually being the closest, the closest you are right, the more probability you have of being successful in this space, right? Just think about it, right? Think about that statement, right? If you invest in Teladoc, for example, which we don't advise, we're not financial advisors, which is speculation, it's just information for free. But if you do invest in Teladoc, for example, and they're worth like $11.67 billion market cap right now, and if they 100x from today, right? Let's just say 100x, right? They're worth $1 trillion, right? And this, just make a quick example, right? I know it's a silly example. Let's say you invested $10,000, right? You literally become a millionaire, right? And I know this is crazy, but I mean, this is very simplified version of investing. I highly advise you guys not to do that. It's a lot more complex than that. But just think about that, right? And you invest in a company which you put significant amount, but maybe not that much amount for most people, for many people, but obviously maybe a lot of amount for most people. But the idea is that it doesn't matter if it's 10,000, 5,000. It's just the idea of 100x. It's a 100x bagger. Um, and again, you may be very wrong, right? This may not be the company. Again, you invest your own risk, and I'm just giving an example here, but if you can see where the future is trending, I highly advise you guys to double down on that, on your instincts and on your research, and build that conviction, and then put yourself in a position where you can be successful, right? So yeah, foreign as the remote issue where there are no doctors. That's a great point, right? Rural communities. Frank just made rural communities. Everybody's moving away from the city. We all saw what happened in pandemic because everything is being virtualized. Everyone feels like they can be in a bigger space. Maybe people want to have uh, bigger homes, and maybe they just are starting bigger families or just starting families and they want to move away from cities. This has been happening before the pandemic as well, right? This move away from cities to more rural communities. And then you have companies like Starlink, giving access to internet. And then what is there next, right? The next thing is making sure your healthcare is taken care of. Are you really gonna drive like 3 hours to go from one rural community to a city just to get your just to get your care, right? Makes absolutely no sense, right? Makes absolutely no sense. And you guys may think, oh, this may be a small segment. Well, no, actually, there's a lot of people moving to suburbs. There's a lot of people moving to rural communities. There's actually rural communities being built every single day, especially in Canada. I've seen it, especially with what's going on with housing. This is why I mentioned those three sectors that are going to be disrupted. Education being one, which is already being disrupted, especially with this channel, for example, on YouTube. But then you have housing, right? Housing is yet to be disrupted. And then you have healthcare, which is also yet to be significantly disrupted. And what's crazy about all that, all those three sectors are actually all intertwined with, right? As you disrupt housing, you actually disrupt healthcare because you make housing more affordable for people, and making them more affordable means, and obviously there's a lot more to it to that, and I'm not going to get into this, but moving and building communities around away from cities that are way costly for people from young families. You're building that rural community that you cannot have many doctors. You can't have the best doctors in those communities because just a sheer of limited talent pool. So then you need the best virtual care, right? You need the best chronic care. You need the best telehealth care, right? And this is where healthcare comes into play, specifically Teladoc, right? So this is a huge bet, right? I think this will play out. I really think this will play out. I think this like you guys are saying, Vadim, we just said it, Starlink plus Teladoc, right? As you get the best internet on these rural communities, which I know in Canada, specifically in Quebec, for example, they're working on Starlink, they're working on different satellites that are going to cover those rural regions. And then you're going to have those citizens that are going to say, you know what? I don't want to drive 3 hours to the local clinic, right? I don't want to drive 2 hours to a dermatologist. I just want to get it online, right? I want to, get my care, and then you deliver me that prescription, right? You prescribe it and deliver it to me. And that's what Teladoc is trying to be, right? This is very interesting. It's a very, very interesting play. I'd like to think that in the future, health distribution hubs like Amazon spread it around where you go there and diagnostics and stuff very automated as if Theranos device. So that's a great point, Dan. I just made a comment about that just now about how I think everything will be connected, right? You use your Teladoc app, for example, you get prescribed a drug, but you don't you don't drive to that location to get your drug, or you get it shipped, right? And this is where maybe you can leverage Amazon efforts, distribution centers. I know Amazon is looking to it. I know this. They built their partnerships with actually with the Buffett, right? With insurance. I know they're looking into healthcare significantly, just like how Apple is. I actually don't think they'll be the one-stop shop for all. I don't think this will happen because I strongly believe that Teladoc has the expertise, and then there's other companies that may come about, but you need the expertise. You need the best quality control, right? This is very important. What I'm saying, you need the best doctors on your platform. You cannot be sub-average. You can't be that. You cannot be just you can't do that. I really don't think you can do that when it comes to health. I think if there's one field you cannot like be sub-average or even average, it is health. You need to be the best of the best in order to disrupt the legacy healthcare system. If you want to build trust with people, if you want people to build conviction with your product and your system, you need to have the best quality. And I don't think big tech companies like Amazon or Apple will have that patience to build that network, right? I'm sure they'll be involved a lot more in this space like they are currently. I'm sure they'll be building partnership. I'm sure they'll be acquiring companies, but will they be that one-stop shop, all that Teladoc is trying to be? I don't think so. What I do foresee happening is, like I said, Amazon distribution centers, Amazon e-commerce business, all their products, all their uh, the ability to one click shop, right? The ability to basically partner up with Teladoc, say, look, your patient needs that prescription. We can sell that drug to an affordable cost, and we can literally deliver it with Amazon delivery, with their contractors, whatever. I do see that happening. So that's a great point. I don't know if you have more questions or comments, or maybe my chat lagged or something. So hopefully you guys appreciate this so far, guys. This is, again, we haven't done this before. This is literally the first time I'm doing this. It's stream. I have many loyal viewers, and just as you are loyal to me, I am definitely loyal to you. I've always kept my word. Everything is for free. I've never done anything paid. I've never sold you guys anything in terms of like products or merchandise in order to have access to information. I do this all for free. There are ways to support this channel, obviously, to your leisure. Like I said, liking this video, sharing this video, subscribing, obviously, leaving a comments, participating in these types of live stream is definitely appreciation. I definitely appreciate that, and I know many of you do, like viewers like Frank, Vadim, Savannah, all amazing individuals. I think all of you guys have seen your names in the comments below. I've even seen Michael. There's other people too, Ranan. Um, um, there's a Surdesh, there's amazing people. I know you guys by names, trust me. Just by doing this on a daily basis, your names come about on those comment section, and I appreciate it so much. It's an amazing thing, right? To have. It's an amazing thing to be a part of. I think this community, the Genomics Fund, is increasing every single day with Dark Invest. I think they're doing amazing things in the space. and I think the community is gonna grow. Ultimately, you have all these investors from Tesla, you have all these people from different sectors, and they're looking at the space and they're like, maybe this is a great time to enter as we're in the bear market. I've talked a lot about CRISPR companies in our channel. I try to talk a lot about other genomics companies. In this case, we're talking about Teladoc. But this is the purpose of this channel, right? That we want to cover all information, all companies, not just genomics. I'm trying to make parallels with Tesla. I'm trying to make parallel with even technology like Bitcoin, because I think it's important for us to sort of tie these technologies together and understand what is going on in this landscape, right? You gotta understand what's going on in this landscape. You cannot just focus on one particular company and just stay so focused on that company and forget what's going on in the landscape, because you'll miss the bigger picture and you may be missing other opportunities in our channels. I don't believe in diversifying like to 50, 100 companies, but I also am myself not a person that's gonna invest like 100% in a single company. I know some of you may be more favorable to that. I know a lot of success stories in Tesla, for example, but let's be honest, right? Tesla is one of those single company, generational companies. Before that, it was maybe Amazon. And before that, maybe you could have gotten lucky with Microsoft and Apple in the early days. But besides that, or Google, but besides that, you need to be careful with your investments. I do believe in some sort of diversification. Again, if you're not comfortable investing in these genomics companies, you always have our G fund that we're looking at here, the genomics revolution. Obviously, they're fun. They don't just do CRISPR companies or sequencing companies. They also do all these companies, diagnostics, and obviously telehealth that we're just taking a look at. um, I do believe Teladoc will acquire some of these companies in this space. And unrelated to telehealth, I think they'll sequencing is a big one for me. I think they'll wanna leverage their data, right? Because data is the new commodity. Data is the new oil of this generation. And if you hold that data, you can do so much, right? Imagine what companies, what governments are willing to pay to have maybe not access to that data, but leverage that data to, to make sense of their use cases, right? So BT said, "Let's go, Brandon." No idea what Brandon means, but or name is, but that's amazing. Um, yeah, we're going this live stream for over an hour, man. This is pretty fun. I don't know about you guys, but this is really, really fun. Let me check other things here while the comments or anything are coming up. Again, you guys can leave me comments or in the live chat. I'll try to respond just to you guys. I'm just checking my chat on my other platforms here um, to make sure I'm not getting something here. Just gonna, yeah. So everything's still running. Everything's still good. I'm really happy. Everything is really, really smooth, eh? Okay, Dan said, may suggest to take ABSI. There are some Illumina insiders that bought there recently. They announced collaboration with Merck. I think we may be something there, but I haven't checked deep as I'm no expert. So obviously I'm not an expert either, because this is new information coming in for me. Um, Illumina is one of those. Um, I love the fact that a lot of people reference to Illumina. I think they were one of the pioneers in this space in biotech. A lot of people keep mentioning to them. I know they acquired a company recently, and apparently the FTC or whatever they're looking into it and trying to block that acquisition. But yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that if I have time. It's very hard for me to make time and look at some of these newer companies that I haven't really studied. And because it's not just about understanding like their deal or the stock price, it's also understanding what they offer as a company. It's like I mentioned in the past, right? I don't just look at the stock price. Yes, I've talked about the stock price of Teladoc, but you just saw how much time I put into investors presentation, talking about anecdotal experiences, talking about my own experience with telehealth, and talking about the potential that Teladoc can reach. There's so much to do, and then you take a look at these private leaks that have been leaked out on Reddit, for example. There's so much you can do, but yeah, researching is definitely like this is where it starts, right? You look at what's going on, like you said, insiders bought the stock, and then you want to try to understand what's going on there, and you as more you deep understand it. but ultimately you have to pull the trigger whether you want to invest or not, because that's the whole point of us doing this, all of that, right? What was the whole point of us researching these companies if we're not going to pull the trigger, right? What was, like, what's the point of looking this space and looking these companies, or this fund, RG fund, for example, genomics sector, if we're not going to actually buy these companies, right? Or at least the fund, right? What's the point of doing all of that, right? I mean, I'm sure all of you have hobbies. You can play video games, you can watch entertainment videos on Netflix and so on. um, so, quick point on Netflix, by the way, the stock was hit so hard, like 23%. I was talking to my partner about this yesterday, and I was telling her how it's just crazy how, you know, they beat, earnings per share. They actually reached their memberships guidance for that quarter, for this quarter just passed. And you know they had the best viewership. They broke records with viewership on their TV shows and movies. They're breaking records with TV shows search on Google. There are all sorts of metrics trending upwards. Unfortunately, their guidance is sort of sub-average than what we expected since the pandemic, for obvious reasons, right? The pandemic is slowing down. Obviously, people are sort of, there's the aftermath of the pandemic, and you can't just expect people to watch more shows and to subscribe more. You need things to slow down and go back to the norm. And in spite of that, the company stock was down 23% in literally a single day, right? A single day, the company's down 23. It lost $50 billion market cap in a single day trading, basically going back to 2018 levels, which is way before the pandemic. Just think about Netflix as a company in 2018 and where they are today. They have more shows. They've, launched Witcher, Witcher 2, Stranger Things, the other season came about. They have obviously Squid Games. They have, their gaming segment that's developing. And still, they're back down to 2018 levels, which is mind-boggling, right? This just show you guys how the markets are, in my opinion, they're drunk. They're not really valuing some of these companies properly, and unfortunately, um, that's what's happening, right? So that's why I mentioned it's very important to talk about the macros, very important to talk about the sectors, different sectors. So yeah, I don't know if I'm. Let's take a look at here. I want to see something here. That's what's happening, right? Yeah. Um, okay. I'm just gonna type something in the chat. I'm just gonna type something in chat. Just to interact with you guys. It's very hard to like play a video and like live stream and then have a chat open and try to read and then try to make it relevant to today's content and talk like technical details, but also high level, but also specific details. Talk about experiences, talk about your own experiences. It's very hard to do all of that, right? So shout out to every YouTuber that does these types of things. It's very hard, but I really appreciate everybody who's watching. um, I do really appreciate it. It's really fun to interact with people, especially on YouTube here. The community is amazing, and people are doing amazing things here, um, especially spreading that information. So, um, and shout out to everybody that the family and friends that watch this channel. I really appreciate it, guys. I think it's very hard sometimes to start something that no one else is doing in your circle. It's very hard because you don't really have example to look at. I can't really talk to someone about it. Like, yeah, this is my partner, this is my family, close family, but I can't just have these conversations on a daily basis because ultimately, they have other priorities, right? So it's very hard sometimes to be like the only one in the social circle doing something like that. But it's fun. I'm doing my best, and I know it's helping out many people. Um, and yes, Dan, like you said, thank you very much. It is definitely hard, but it's fun. Honestly, it's very fun. I really appreciate it. Anybody that on YouTube that tells you, they're, it's stressful and so on, I don't think, I think there's a lot of things that could be a lot more stressful in life than sitting down and talking about your passions on a webcam. I truly believe that. A lot of you, especially a lot of you people that are watching, are blue collar workers. They work in restaurants, they work in construction, work in electricity, plumbers, working very, very hard on sites, and, you know, drivers, truck drivers, there's hard jobs, physical jobs. I think there's a lot more harder things to do than, making videos on YouTube. But it's just a different stress. It's fun. I love it. It's the stuff that I've done. I know I've said it in the past, but this is everything I do here today. I've been doing this like for years and years. The only difference is now I have a webcam and a microphone, right, to show it to you guys. I've always researched this, read this on my own, but now I share it, and we built a community, which is amazing. So I mostly invested because of online therapy, never physical spots. Thank you for your work. Sadly, joined late. No, it's all good. Thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate it, and I do this for you guys. Again, it's all for free. I've never asked a single dime, and I will never. Um, you know how I do this. This is basically out of my passion, so there's no worries there. Yeah, I think online therapy, like I said, online therapy, we haven't even touched a lot about online therapy. I mean, we talked about mental health, and we talked about therapy, therapists, but it's really interesting. I think as we move away from a physical being and being more digitalized, I think it's pretty straightforward that a lot of people will have the need to talk to people, right? And I know a lot of newer generations, they prefer texting, voice messages, and very rarely do a lot of new generations love phone calls or even webcam calls. But I think when it comes to like personalized needs, I think there will be need to talk to professionals. There will always be a need to, discuss about your problems and sit down and talk to a therapist and talk about your life, especially in the pandemic where people lost their jobs and they've been enclosed, they've been in their homes. I think there'll be a need to like, talk to people, to digital people, and really to have a conversation with them. I think it's going to be really, really important to have these types of mediums. Um, I think it's definitely that. Fun to enjoy the morning coffee with you, Hassan. You as well, Michael. Thank you so much for that. Actually, I need to refill the coffee, and I'm thinking what's the best way of getting my refill of the coffee before leaving. Um, I don't want to leave this stream. I'm gonna keep talking to you guys, but there is this cup here. I don't give this shout out to my sisters, but my sister actually got this for Christmas. I can't really see if you guys can see this. I think yeah, you can see it. So they gave me this Christmas. And basically, there's three icons to this, right? And it's a personalized cup. Obviously, they made for me. There's the money bag, there's the book, and then there's a heart with a dumbbell, right? So obviously the money bag being everything with investments, financial, making money, growing your earnings, cutting your costs, and just making sure you have more money over the years, right? And just better investments, so on. And then you have a book, basically education, always learning, whether that's on YouTube, Google, Twitter, Reddit, always learning, reading books, always acquiring knowledge. And then you have the last vertical in my life, which is heart and fitness, basically. Um, the gym, I a lot of you guys, I don't really talk a lot about it on YouTube because I just feel like it's not really relevant that much to this channel, although it should be because we talk a lot about healthcare and genomics. But I've been going to the gym like literally almost every single day for the past like 12 years, right? Since like 2009, I've been at a gym. I've actually changed my workouts over the years. I used to be really, really into bodybuilding, like lifting way heavy weights, just to like deadlift like 320, 350 pounds, like 8 repetitions and 4 sets. Those are crazy numbers. But then over the years, I sort of got more lean and sort of incorporated cardio, and I'm not really into that strength anymore. I'm more into the functional side of things, making sure I'm healthy. I can feel good in my skin. I'm not really worried about being bulky. I used to be really, really bulky, guys. I used to be like 215 pounds. I'm like almost 6 feet, and 215 pounds is big, right? Like muscles and obviously some fat, and then shrink. I shrunk. Actually, now I think I'm more like on 170s. So things have really slowed down since then. let me just do something before I answer you guys on the chat. On the some chats that came in. So okay. Um, Thank you, Asan. I love your video. You are focused on some very important technologies and investing opportunities. People ignore the stuff at Tesla for years. Genomics will shine in the future. Absolutely. Uh, I, 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 Acon A23. By the way, I don't know if it says Acon or that was just your name, but I'm a huge fan of Acon. Uh, again, I don't, I have other hobbies, guys. I don't just talk about investments. This is it's weird sometimes when you just talk about like companies, investments. You feel like your audience just knows you for that genomics guy or that CRISPR guy. But I do a lot more than just companies, right? I just talk about gym, and I love music and Akon. I'm a huge fan of Akon. So if that's your name, let me know if that's what you actually meant, or is it that actually your full name, Iacona 23, Iacona 23. So. Yeah, absolutely. People ignored Tesla for years because it was one of those stories that people didn't believe it would happen. People said there would be a lot of competition. They said that legacy autos will just crush Tesla. Tesla wouldn't make sense out of their financials. But look at them today, being profitable. They're generating so much revenue. They're spinning off, new factories on a year, almost on a yearly basis at this point. Giga Berlin, Giga Texas are going to come online this year. Cybertruck, semis, their batteries involvement with verticals. And I think genomics will have the same type of growth, right? Same type of trend, right? Well, a lot of people today are saying, well, Teladoc is not going to be here in the next 2 or 3 years because you're going to have big tech that's just going to come in and sweep them, or a legacy healthcare company that's just going to swoop in and just take over their technology. It just doesn't work like that. We just talk about all the challenges it takes from region basis. So great point there. Again, let me know if Acon is in your username, or at least if it was intentional. I work in mental health care sector, and people are willing to do online therapy is increasing. People whose lives can access to our team, which is focused on specific field. Also, government is thinking of including mental health care on social welfare. Later or soon, it'll be a fact. I find it interesting. It is part of Teladoc. So mental health care is a serious thing. Um, I don't want to go as far as saying that I've had like mental issues. I wouldn't say that. I'm not comfortable stating that type of statement because one, it's not really true, and two, I don't want to do injustice to people that are actually experiencing mental health issues, but it is a serious issue. It is a real thing. Even before the pandemic, we saw NBA players like Kevin Love or DeMar DeRozan or football players come online and talk about that. A lot of people had interviews talking about it, as athletes, artists. A lot of artists talk about it, and in the past, this was always prevalent, right? This is a reason why we've in the U.S. they've had the issues with drugs, right? War on drugs. Why? Because people have mental health issues, sorry, and they've basically resolved to drugs that, for temporary solutions, which obviously do not work over long term. And then over the years, we've sort of developed to a position where we can sort of understand mental health, and we've normalized that discussion on platforms like social media, and then you have these artists coming out. So governments are definitely going to look at that space, and they're going to prioritize that. And then we haven't even talked about the elephant in the room, the pandemic, right? Look at how many businesses have shut down, right? This is another topic for another day, but local pop stores, restaurants, the local pizza stores closed, nightclubs have been shut down. All these bartenders, the waiters, all these people in the hotel industry, in the flight attendants, in different airlines, and all these people work in different entertainment industries. Like honestly, some of the nightclubs have been literally closed since 2020, March 2020, which is absolutely crazy, right? This is actual employees, actual human beings that have lost their purpose over the last 2 years. People that have been working not just for their like university job. There's people actually working, and having fun. Right? I've actually, again, this is something I have not disclosed over my videos, but I've actually worked in the nightlife industry prior to where I am today. This was many years ago, and I know how fun it is to work at a nightclub, and and the nightlife industry, and not just fun, but this is people that are, having their time in their lives, and they're doing this as a serious job, as an employer, a serious employment. They're making serious money, but more specifically, it's their purpose in life, right? They're on the weekends, they want to go out and work on the nightlife industry, serve their patients, sorry, their customers. They have a huge client base, and it's so fun. You have music around, and fortunately, these are been closed. And what do you think is going to happen to their mental health, right? It's going to affect them seriously. People just, yeah, disregarding that. I know a lot of people are like white collar jobs. They're sitting behind their desk and they think life is still normal. This is the new normal. It is not the new normal for many industries, specifically for entertainment venues like nightlife with restaurants and venues like concerts and so on. All these people working with the lighting staff, the camera staff, and I really feel bad for those people, right? Because um, you know, cutting them a paycheck from the government is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like purpose in life, right? And you say that, well, they're gonna have to be, retrained to do something else in life. Ask me to be retrained. I'm an engineer, right? Ask me to be retrained to be, I don't know, like something else. I'm not gonna say yes to that, right? Because you're forcing me something to do something I don't want to do. If I want to be retrained, it will be on my terms when I want to do it, and when it's not gonna be when the world changes and it forces me to do something else. I'm gonna push back on that, right? And I've seen many people lost their purpose and they're going through these mental health issues. And to your point, I think the governments will have no choice to invest in that, and then you'll have these opportunities for companies like Teladoc to double down on that, right? So online, yeah, online therapy might decrease the psychological threshold for blue collar workers like myself. Yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely. Is this a base? I don't see 60s unless we hit a major hit. Macro, honestly, man, I'm not even a trade like stock technical trader, whatever people call themselves. Apparently, all I can say is no one can predict the future and no one can predict the stock price. A few months ago, I was saying stock was at a great valuation, like 120 a share, and today it's trading at like 72, $73 a share. It may very well go down to 60, but again, I think it's more. I think we should more be focusing on the macro side of things at that point. Will the bear market end for biotech, or will just tech stocks in general, pick up? At some point they'll have to pick up, right? Unless we go into this huge bear market for years and years to come, which is again is possible, but I just don't see it with technology evolving, with revenues evolving, going up, with all this penetration in different markets, and with what happened with the pandemic, with virtualized side of things, with digitalization. So is this, yeah, Ikone is the Hawaiian version of the name Jason. Oh wow, it is pronounced Akona. I did not know that, Akona 23. I did not know that that was the version name of Jason, which is beautiful, right? Hawaii, I've been thinking about going to Hawaii at some point as well in the future with my partner. We were actually close of going there pre-pandemic, but just things shifted and we couldn't make it. I think we ended up going in Miami, which is obviously not the same type of trip. But I would love to go to Hawaii at some point. Beautiful. Everything I've seen there so far is beautiful. And Teladoc is a clever brand name that should not be discounted. You know what? I actually did not even know that. Teladoc is actually Teladoc, right? Teladoc, doctor, right? That's amazing. That's a great point. I actually think if you should be investing in this company, it should be because of their company name. I'm just kidding. Um, okay. Or Ayacona. Okay. Government in Spain. Yeah, Dan. Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah. Okay, you were referencing all what you just said in Spain. Yeah, because you're from Barcelona. It's true. Yeah, I think what we're gonna see in different of these nations, and even in Pakistan, even in different countries, like healthcare is so important. People don't know this, but healthcare is actually free in many countries, not just in developed nations. Healthcare is actually accessible in Pakistan as well. It's the same way it is. Like I said, I've actually had the first exposure to their healthcare system when I was there, and I think it's amazing. Obviously, it's not accessible to all their population, but I think it's gonna be it's not something um, you should be discounting. And the point I'm trying to make here is that all these healthcare systems around the world will take a look at these technologies. It may not be Teladoc, it may be something else, it may be a smaller company, it might be a local company, but ultimately they will partner up with these companies. There will be more funds to it, and the total addressable markets will increase. You'll see all these legacy analysts on Wall Street, changing their models about this company. And then, I think it's bound to happen, right? So I'm more worried about Invitae than Teladoc, if I'm honest. Yeah, Invitae is an interesting company. I think Invitae, it's yeah, I think Invitae is, in my opinion, I think it's the Amazon of genomics. Um, but then a lot of people can say Teladoc could be the Amazon of genomics, right? So I'm not even sure at this point, right? What is the Amazon of genomics? I don't even know if there's going to be an Amazon, or maybe will be multiple Amazon of genomics, right? But NVIDIA, I know there's a huge support fan base for NVIDIA. Um, and I was planning to make a video recently. I'm gonna make a video more on NVIDIA. I want to cover their company because their stock been hit so hard. Um, it's unfortunate, but it's part of the game, guys. When you invest in these high risky companies, you have to, understand that if you expect a 20, 40, 60% increase in the next months, then you should be expecting a 40, 60, 80% decrease over the next year, which is what we saw with NVT, right? And same thing with Teladoc. It's been down 75%. So I rather Teladoc than Amazon who sells videos and socks. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Again, that's the point where I was making about quality control, right? You as a patient, are you willing? This is where you as a patient, I mean, yes, pricing is definitely sensitive, pricing is important, but I think healthcare is one thing that I think many people will not jeopardize when it comes to quality, right? And I'm not entirely sure that Amazon can get the best doctors on their platform on a short-term basis, right? They may very well do that in over the time, but I actually see that the same thing as streaming, right? People, in 2017, 18 were saying, Netflix, there's so much competition. Amazon will get into it, Apple will get into it, HBO will get into it, and although they've all get into it, including Disney, even today in 2022, Netflix is king, right? A recent poll on Twitter, on YouTube, I saw from one of the YouTubers, I saw 71% said that Netflix is still king. 71%, right? And that figure, in my opinion, will not decrease significantly over the next years. And by that time, think about the growth, think about the penetration. So the same way streaming is behaving, in my opinion, telehealth will behave that same way because it's not just about leveraging your technology, it's about your expertise slash quality control. It's about your momentum, your popularity, your moat, your distribution, and it's ultimately about your partnerships, right? How many of these health providers you have partnerships? How many conversations you have with government regulatory bodies, employers, right? We haven't even talked a lot about these employer partnerships, but this is what I think telehealth is started. Teladoc, sorry, is betting on, right? They're betting on the idea to have a bigger reach, right, when it comes to partnerships, right? So like even here, right? Strategic partnerships industry wide, right? It's all about being commercial, B2B, but also B2C, but more focused with B2B. B2B is where the money is when it comes to telehealth, in my opinion, because all these companies need some sort of form care for their employees, as we talk about mental health, as we talk about chronic care, virtual care, we talk about being the one-stop platform for all your care, all your digital information. And we haven't talked about how it's so easy for your information to be digitalized at that point, right? I mean, think about the data they hold, right? You have a doctor that's coming up, you don't like that doctor, fine. After a year, you change doctor, or after a month, you change doctor, and then that doctor will have all that information you had with the previous doctor, right, in your Teladoc Health app. And plus, you can just, reference your past history, all documented, all digitalized. It's all about a remote care. I truly believe this is something that we're looking at. So, okay. Okay, so I think I'm gonna. I don't know if there's other questions here. Let me take my other platforms if there's like. I don't think there is. Um, Again, I do this for free, guys. I think I will be doing this on a more more continuous basis. I'm having fun, honestly. It's been, I don't know if you guys know, but this has been going for almost 2 hours, and I'm still talking. I haven't talked, I'm not even talking to someone directly, like on an interview. This is literally me reading comments, just spewing off information, having conversation with you guys on the chat system. We've had dozen viewers here live, which is amazing. Again, if you have any questions, feedback, comment, anything, just leave me in the chat. After this stream ends, it will be a chat system, sorry, a comment sector section where you can even leave a comment. And I think this interaction is just so important, not just for you, but for me too, right? I get to learn you guys. Get to you guys on a personal basis. I didn't know that Iacona, was a Jason name form pronunciation for the Jason name in Hawaii. I didn't know the Dan was from Spain, or that we had, no, a viewer right now from Singapore. I know we have a fan base from Singapore. I didn't know Savannah there. Had some comments there about Frank's discussion um, about the elder care of rural communities, or even Vadim talking about, Starlink. I think that's quite some interesting parallels to be made. I think there's a lot to learn here. Um, I'll leave the stream going a little bit here. I was just told by my partner offline here that I'm not as we don't have any more coffee yet, so a little bit disappointed. I would love to have another coffee or talk to you guys, but maybe next time, I'll make sure that my first coffee cup, I have it with you guys all the way till the end. I usually take like 3 coffee cups. I know some of you are gonna I'm gonna crazy on that statement, but I do love coffee. I do some form of intermittent fasting. Um, so coffee is the thing that keeps me sane. So just 3 cup of coffees, and I've already obviously gone through my 3 cups now. I will start next stream with my first cup of coffee for sure. Would be nice to have a video about Bitcoin as well. For sure, Vadim. I used to make a lot of videos on, you guys know that, and you know that particularly. I used to make a lot of videos on Bitcoin. Not necessarily, it's not actually because of the price that I stopped. It's more because, I think this channel, I got the best viewership when it came to CRISPR, when it comes to genomics. Having a YouTube channel is so hard because at some point I want to talk about anything and everything. But at the other hand, I have to make sure that it's relevant to my viewers. A lot of you guys are like doctors, researchers, investors in this space in genomics. And when you start talking about other technologies, you start losing their focus, their attention. So that's probably the only reason why I stopped. But I was planning to make another video on Bitcoin. You guys know I'm a huge proponent on Bitcoin. If you've, had a conversation with me directly, I always talk about Bitcoin somewhere. I think governments, days with fiat currency are limited. I think them printing fiat currency is just crazy. I think we need a check on our governments. We need a check mark on our governments, and the population has chosen, in my opinion, so far, Bitcoin to be that check. You can sort of base your fiat currency on Bitcoin to be the Bitcoin standard, where you can no longer just fiat print money unlimited, devalue our hard-earned money. And you saw what happened with Venezuela. You saw what happened with Zimbabwe. You see what's happening with Turkey, with the Turkish lira, and with other currencies. U.S. dollar is no different. Ultimately, all fiat currency is going to lead to the same path, and I think Bitcoin definitely has a future there. And look, if it's not Bitcoin, it's gonna be something else. I'm not sure, right? But right now, the people have said it will be Bitcoin. So yeah. So okay, so I think I'm gonna end this stream like this, guys. I think this is it. We've gone way past almost 2 hours, a lot longer than I was thinking. I was thinking more like honestly, like an hour tops. But it's so fun to talk to you guys on a live format. I'm gonna try to do this again. I was thinking tomorrow to do more of a video on Pakistan, like my travel stuff. Again, I want to keep it relevant to you guys, but I think it's important sometimes just to go out of a niche and just talk about experiences so that we can learn from it, and learn from everything, right? And plus, it's fun to connect to you guys. But I do want to make another live stream at some point, maybe on a weekly basis, just to talk to you guys. Let me know in the comments below or in the chat what you guys think about that. I want to like talk to you guys on a weekly basis because I think it's important, like I said, talk to you guys directly, get feedback, and then for me to learn. and then we can always have that interaction. And other people do it, other YouTubers in their respective sectors, not even investments, right? We talk about video games, the video gamers, they talk about, they do these types of live videos, talk to their fans. So, and here, we're just getting a dozen viewers, but to me, a dozen viewers is a world to me. Just a single viewer is a world to me. Next time we won't have technical issues for sure, and we'll make sure that we prepared this on a more timely manner, and that we like this preparation was less than like 12 hours, right? Just scheduled it and the link was wrong, so I know some of you were waiting on the wrong link. So next time we'll do it better for sure. We'll end this video like this. Let me play my typical music. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Subscribe if you're not. Thank you so much, guys. Again, it is a pleasure to serve you guys, and we will end this video like this. Have a beautiful, beautiful Saturday, guys. Like this video, leave me comments below, and we will see each other in tomorrow's video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a beautiful